Welcome back here inside Bell MTS Iceplex, and we are joined alongside FaceTime with Aaron Wilgosh of the Portage Daily Graphic. Aaron, how you doing?
I'm doing good, guys. Thanks for having me. I got a busy night of hockey ahead. 2 Caps games and an Islanders game here in Portage tonight.
Well, there we go. We're going to start this off with a little high school action. The girls, the Saints, and the boys, the Trojans. What's going on with the season? Obviously in full swing right now for high school hockey. Just talk about both boys and girls so far on how it's working down there in Portage.
Yeah, I mean, the PCI Saints, it was supposed to be a rebuild year for them, but they're right in the middle of the pack, keeping up with a lot of the higher teams. They actually match well with everyone. They played the first place St. Mary's Flames the other day, actually only lost 2-0, keeping up with them basically the entire game, and St. Mary's has only lost 1 game all year. So these girls are actually pretty good. They're led by 3 sisters, the Schwaliks, one in grade 12, Kira Schwalik, and then 2 twins, Maddie and Paige. And these girls are unreal. Paige Schwalik leads the team with 25 points. All 3 were at the All-Star team. And they're just really hard to handle for other teams. And, I mean, it's great. The high school girls, they've just been putting it all out there, and hopefully they can make some noise in the playoffs.
Are they aligned?
Kira, the eldest, is the defenseman. She's the captain of the team, and then they've actually split Paige and Maddie up this year just so that they can have more of a even distribution but for the scoring. But if they ever need a goal, they put them all on the ice and just watch them work.
Well, the Canucks don't split up the Sedins too often either, so we'll understand if they need a goal that they keep them on the same line.
I want to know how many times it's been Schwalik from Schwalik from Schwalik. And be like, yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, that's got to be impressive if you're writing a news report or if you got to announce that game. I mean, there's got to be some. The one thing that's not lacking from those 3 is chemistry, because they probably live, breathe, and die breakfast, lunch, dinner, and hockey. And, you know, they probably sit around Saturday nights watching Hockey Night in Canada back in the day, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, we've all watched the Sedins live on Hockey Night in Canada, like you said. And it's crazy, but, like, these twins, they've got it. They've got the same kind of thing. You watch them cycle down low. One of them manages to squeak out front, and the next thing you know, it's in the back of the net. And all 3 of them have speed. They all come from a hockey family, but their real passion is fast pitch, Manitoba fast pitch. That's what they all love.
So hockey by night or hockey by winter time and baseball by summertime?
Yeah, the Saints are actually 3-time provincial champions for high school fast pitch, so very dominant team out here in Portage.
And now the Trojans, who are the men's high school hockey team there, how are they looking?
They're on the exact opposite. They've got 3 wins this year. They're sitting at the bottom of the barrel basically in every stat in the league. But the thing is, they've got shades of brilliance. You know, they're one of those Jekyll and Hyde teams where if the boys decide they want to play hard one night, they're going to show up and they might stomp out a first-place team. But the problem is they can't put together 60 minutes. They're a 40-minute team, and if they can just put 60 together, it would be a completely different season.
Was there a big turnaround coming from last year with maybe a lot of seniors leaving, and was it maybe more looked at, like you said, how the girls were supposed to be in a rebuild year, or has it just been like an inconsistent and no one really expected them to be at the bottom, or were they anticipating maybe this with a lot of seniors leaving?
Well, they definitely were anticipating. It was something that was seen coming. Lucas Neufeld was their captain last year at grade 12. He won Defenseman of the Year. He was unbelievable on the back end for them. Just stopped everything and led the rush from the backside as well. They lost, I believe, about 9 players, so that is a big turnaround for high school hockey. Basically 2 full lines. So, I mean, they're going to make the playoffs. Everyone gets in here, and maybe a Cinderella story. They can make it into the 2nd round or 3rd round even, again, if they can put that all together. They're a young team led by Cole Butler. He's a young player. He's actually been called up to the midget caps a few times and has made an impact there. So in a few years, I can see them being very good. But right now, I mean, enjoy the rest of the season and try and make some noise in the postseason.
Regular season wraps up when? When are these, because you mentioned all the teams get into the playoffs. When can they be looking forward to that?
Yeah, the Saints actually play their last game Thursday next week, so playoffs should get going in about 2 weeks, and the Trojans the same, I believe, 3 weeks. They're in the postseason. Well,
for a league where everyone makes the playoffs, I mean, the Trojans, although last place, it's a clean slate. It's a fresh start when playoffs. You just gotta win come playoff times, and then you're on to the next round.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about that team is they've got a goaltender, Grayson Pache. This kid's facing 35, 40 shots a game, and his numbers look bad because he doesn't get as much support as he should. But if this kid stands on his head, again, like I said, anything can happen.
So there definitely could be a surprise or two for this men's team come playoff time. Like we said, 0-0, maybe kind of a rope-a-dope kind of thing maybe back in the day, but you never know. Like you said, this team is young, and they have lost a lot of veteran qualities, but the future looks bright for this men's team, and I think that's the most important thing you have to look at is saying you always have that 1 year of rebuild, and then you continue to build from that come the off season.
Yeah, and I asked the coach this actually after the last game. I asked him, how do you keep them motivated? How do you keep them positive in a season where you got 3 wins? And he says, it's them. They're having fun in the dressing room, and they're going out there and they want to compete. They know that they're at the bottom, but they still have that desire. Hockey players have that. You want to win. You want to go out there and compete. And he's just happy to see that from his kids every day at practice and every time they hit the rink for a game.
Switching over to the AAA girls, Central Plains. Sitting down near the bottom, 8-14, 1-3 is their record, 21 points. But they do have a back-to-back coming up this weekend. Today they're facing the Yellowhead Chiefs at home, and then on the road to take on the Westman Wildcats. What have you seen this year so far from the AAA girls?
It's been a weird year for them. I mean, they've got some great talent. They started the year winning 4 of 5 weekly awards. And they were off and running and competing with a lot of them, but then they ran into a little bit of a losing streak in December, and it sent them down. They lost that. They were right in the middle of the pack there. But they compete with everyone. The only team they seem to have a lot of trouble with is the Avros this year. They haven't been able to put a good game against the Avros. They seem to have their number. But it's tough. I mean, Ferdy Nelson is trying to make them compete 100% of the time, 100% effort, all the time, every period. And if they get that, much like the other teams we talked about, they'll be in the games. But it's just tough because they haven't had that scoring. It's been a couple of years now where they're having a little bit more of a scoring trouble, and the goaltending is hit or miss every night. It's hard to say that about goaltending, but if you're not getting the support from your defense on that first shot, it's hard to make any saves afterward.
Have you been able to speak to Coach Ferdy Nielsen there? I mean, how is he getting his team up and ready for all these games? Although they're looking like they're near the bottom, like you said, it's been a little bit of a weird year. How does he gear up the girls to go out and face a team like the Avros?
Shootout losses and 1-goal games. That's how. The girls are in it. They're competing hard. Like I said, they're not getting blown out. If you look through their scores, they're 1-goal games or 1-goal games with an empty net goal to make it 5-3, So they're in every single game, and I mean, they've got speed. They've got strength on the back end. Their captain, Chloe Snaith, she controls the play when she's out there, and you can actually see it against teams like the Pembina Valley Hawks, who are a transition team, who do very well turning the puck over and then capitalizing on it right away. The Caps will actually hold possession time in the zone for quite a long time and get those shots toward the net. It's the scoring. They just got to find that scoring touch to maybe get that extra push to propel them past teams like Westman and the Avros.
Well, maybe one person that hasn't had trouble finding scoring, Megan Ferg, 28 points in 25 games. What can you say about her?
Well, her dad's the assistant coach. I know him well, John Ferg. He's actually the president of the Central Plains organization. And she's just always played hockey. She's played with the boys. She's competed with the boys. I'm sure you put her on the PCI Trojans and she could probably lead the team in scoring. The kid's got wheels and she's got a really good shot. And I hate saying for a girl, but she can whip that puck. They all have those light flexes and they can just lean into them. And she uses it. And she's also not afraid to go into the corners. She also gets some help from Starbucks' Hallie Edwards and McGregor's Chloe Snaith, like I said, the captain. And then the two Megans, Megan Ferd and Megan Inman, they play on the same line. So they have a little bit of a connection there as well. And it translates into points on the scoreboard, obviously.
We're going to switch sports, if that's okay with you.
Sure,
we'll talk a little pigskin.
Switch it up, boys.
We got 8. Tell me what's going on with the Pigskin Classic next month. What's going on with the gentlemen that are heading down south to play a little football and represent Central Plains?
Okay, well, I was turned on to this from the Portage Pitbulls, an organization here in Portage La Prairie, a football organization. And Keto Pobla, a former Bomber, put together a travel team for football. He said there wasn't a travel team here in Manitoba, and it was something he had always thought about getting going. So he decided to get some help from Donald Burrell, who also coaches the PCI Trojans football team out here, and invited some Portage players to come out and try out for this travel team. The Trojans, or the Pitbulls rather, 8 of them have made this team now. The Manitoba Selects U15 team and U13 team. They went out to Saskatchewan earlier this month and played an exhibition game against the Saskatchewan Selects. And now in February, I believe it's the 21st, I don't have the exact dates on me, but they're going down to San Antonio, Texas for the Pigskin Classic. It's actually one of the biggest travel team football tournaments in the world, and it's the 6th annual one, and this is going to be Manitoba's first appearance at it. So Keto Pobla, the head coach, he's really looking forward to this, and I'm actually going to try and get in touch with him soon and put a little article together before the team heads down there.
So it's 8 players from the Portage Central Plains area, and is it all on, like, how many on the is it the 13 team and the 15 team both going?
Yeah, you know what? I'll actually let's pump their tires a little bit here. Caden and Kyler Banfield, Sean Green, Brock Miller, Jaden Schindel, and Colby Irwin are all on the U15 team, so that's 6 players. And then there's 2 on the U13 team, Leland Gabriel and Grayson Pratt. The funny thing about those 2 is Portage didn't have a U13 team. They had to drive from Portage all the way to Charleswood just to play football this season.
So talk about pumping tires, putting kilometers on those same tires, and doing a great job in actually making a travel team that now has the opportunity to play in Texas, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and like I said, they're just doing the classic fundraising right now, getting out there, selling some raffle tickets, trying to help fund that trip down to San Antonio, Texas, for a 3-day tournament. I mean, you're getting help from some amazing football players while you're there. Keto Pobla and Donald Burrell, 2 former Bombers, and there's another Bomber there with them. So they're getting some really good coaching and one-on-one time with these coaches that are going to help skill development along the way.
Well, you said you had a busy weekend coming up. AAA Midget Boys, Central Plains Capitals, sitting currently in 9th right now. What can you tell us about that team?
They've got Southwest tonight. They're 4 back of Southwest, and a win here tonight would obviously get them closer to that 8th place playoff spot. They're a Jekyll and Hyde team. I mean, they can show up and get blown out some games, but then they can show up and take the first place Brandon Wheat Kings to a shootout at 5-5 last night, and the 3rd place Winnipeg Bruins to a shootout on Wednesday. So these teams show up, and they're beating the first place teams, or at least taking them all the way to a shootout. Yeah. And I mean, they've got some real good talent, and people have stepped up with a lot of injuries. They were missing so many players, playing with 12 players on the bench through December. It was a really, really short bench. Then they got Riley Funk back from the Terriers, and he has just been tearing it up. 36 points in 15 games played. 2.14 points per game right now. If he's not in the MVP talk, he definitely needs to be. And then they also got Logan Calder back, who is out with injury. Another draft pick for the MJ. He's going to be a good player. Immediately in his return, got 2 assists. So they're finally getting a full bench back, and going into the last stretch here with 6 games coming up, a win tonight over Southwest can really get things going in the right direction.
Yeah, so although a few points back, like you said, of that last playoff seed, what does, like you mentioned, last night, 6-5, a loss against Brandon, who was 34-3-0. 3 losses on the year. What does that say for a team that, if they do squeak into the playoffs, it got to give them boatloads of confidence going into that, even though facing the first place seed Brandon, that they can last the distance and take them all the way into a shootout?
Yeah, same kind of thing. They've got a goaltender that can stand on his head if he gets the support from the D-men in front of him, clearing that first or second shot. Riley Spicevistrup, he's been known to go on runs. Last year, he went on a 9-game winning streak. This year, it's just been a little different because, like I said, those injuries really hurt during December. But with a full roster, I really hope they can make it into some postseason action because who knows? An upset is possible. Like I said, in their last 2 games, 1 and 3, all the way to a shootout, and it's just minor errors or minor little brain farts they'll have in the third period that kind of cost them the game. So if they can get things going and really squeak into that final playoff spot, I know head coach Brad Janko is really looking forward to these last 6 games and showing the rest of the league what they're made of.
Well, we're joined here by Aaron Wilgosh of the Portage Daily Graphic. Aaron, I'm not sure what topic you can't cover, because whatever we throw at you, you seem to have a brilliant answer. But let's go to senior men's here in the Southeastern Manitoba Hockey League. The Islanders currently sitting in 5th place, just 3 points back of Morden for 4th. We touched upon the Southeastern Manitoba Hockey League in our first segment, but didn't get much towards the Portage team specifically. So that's where you come in. What can you tell us about the Islanders?
Well, they made it all the way to the championship last year, lost in Game 7. I mean, they're here in the middle of the pack, but the entire league is a little weird this year. I mean, Notre Dame just finally got on a run to climb out in front, and now everyone's still, within 8 points if you've got the standings in front of you. It's still a tight race. There isn't many games left here, but with everyone making the playoffs, I see Portage doing well. Mitch Wiebe is a great goaltender. He's struggled a little bit this year, but watch for him to get on a run here heading toward the postseason. He always does. And they're led by all basically former Portage Terriers. This team has a lot of former Portage Terriers. They're led by the Waldvogels, Tanner and Zach. Zach was actually part of the RBC Cup winning team here in Portage La Prairie a few years ago. So the talent is there. They did lose Anders Strome and another one of their leading scorers this year. That hurt. They haven't been able to put up the numbers. They're actually led by Zach Waldvogel with only 12 points. So I was actually watching earlier, and you guys were talking about the league leaders. Portage has nowhere near the top of the league leaders for points here, with Zach only with 12, and then, of course, the next two with 11 and 10. So, it's all about just playing a consistent game here and trying to find their form going into playoffs. And it starts with a win tonight. They get going at 8 p.m. at Stride Place.
All right, we did our MJHL report last segment right before we brought you on. Portage Terriers 11 points behind Steinbach. About a month and a half left in the season. Do they make a late push here, the defending champs? Can they catch the first-place team before playoffs to get that home ice advantage all the way through?
I don't know if they want to. They won it last year, finishing 5th.
Yep.
So, I mean, who knows? This team, they keep surprising everyone, even me, and I've been doing the play-by-play for over 2 years now. And, I mean, it's shocking what the coaching staff does for these guys. I don't know how they keep them so locked in on their goal, and as soon as new players come in, they just drill the Portage Terrier mentality into them. It's a lifestyle out here, and it's going to be an amazing playoff run again. Steinbach, always a powerhouse, and I just hope it's a Steinbach-Portage final again to make it 5 out of the last 6 years. Yeah,
I called a game here for Portage against the Blues. I mean, how fun is it watching guys like Jeremy Leipzig and Mackenzie Dwyer off the back end? I mean, night in and night out, just showing how much talent they have.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate Chase Brakel's out of the lineup right now because when he's out there with Jeremy Leipzig, those two and James McIsaac, they're young, they're fast, and it almost makes you want to pull your hair out. I don't have any because they pass the puck so much that if they would just shoot 1 or 2 more times, I'm sure they would all have way more points and they would have a lot more blowouts. But they're just so fancy, and sometimes you're just left starstruck watching these boys play. And I'm just happy I get to do it for a living.
Any word from Joey Moffett? You're the second in the league for rookie scoring and leading the Portage out of rookies. What's he been able to do in his first year?
He seems like he's got it all. He's got hands. He can deflect the puck in front. He's not afraid to throw body in the corner, and he's got a shot that can rival the best in the league. Last year, he was number 1 for the Caps in scoring as a 15-year-old. In midget AAA, and now he's there 16. And I know you were talking about the other rookie, but he's 18 years old. Yeah. Joey Moffett just turned 17 here. This is a young kid, and he's got a bright career, if not in the MJ, maybe even the WHL at some point.
Chase Brakel, you mentioned him, and I'm having a bit of a brain fart here. I know that did he get accepted or traded to a school in the States, I believe? coming up next year?
Yes, he did sign on with a school this year. I do not have it off the top of my head.
Neither do I.
But head to PortageDailyGraphic.com.
Yes,
I guarantee you find it there.
There we go. Aaron, honestly, like I said, I'm not sure there was a topic that you couldn't cover. Anything else you want to hit upon before we say goodbye until next time?
High school ball, the PCI Saints, the varsity team, they're 5-1. Watch for them. They'll make some noise heading into the Winnipeg West Athletic Conference playoffs. We can end it on that.
There you go, Aaron Wilgosh from the Portage Daily Graphic. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks, boys. Have a good one.
We'll be right back with our AAA report for boys and girls here at the Manitoba Sports Desk along the Manitoba Sports Network.